Alright, so let's start going over structs in Golang. A struct is a collection of fields. They're useful for grouping data together and to make a entity with those collections of fields. So let's actually create a struct really quick, right? So like I said, it's a collection of fields to create an entity. So the entity that we're going to create is a person because there's plenty of people on this earth, right? But each person is its own entity. Each person has different attributes that makes them different. So um, to resemble that, we're going to create a struct of a person. So how to create a structure or a struct, right? What you got to do is actually create the type of the structure, right? So we're going to use the keyword type. Then we're going to define the name of the struct that we're going to create. So in this case, I'm trying to create a person. And we're just going to let Golang know that this is going to be a struct. Then you can open up the curly braces, and now we can start defining fields for that struct. Because like I said before, a struct is just a collection of fields that defines an entity. So what defines a person? What defines a struct of type person? Right? So a person usually has a name. So you can define, you can put the name or the attribute that we're going to actually create. And this name is going to be a series of characters. So it's going to be a string because that's what a string is a series of characters. Usually a person has an age. So to create another collection, we just, go on to the next line and define the next attribute, which is going to be age. And usually age is going to be an int, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to whatever. And let's see, what's another thing? Let's put weight. And this is going to be of type float. And we're going to make this 32. Because I would assume that, the highest somebody weighs weighs right now is probably like 1,000 pounds maybe. So that can fit within a float 32. So this is how you create a struct, right? This is the entity that defines a person. So like I said, Earth has so many different type of people, right? It's a collection of people, and what makes them different are the attributes that defines a specific person. We created the entity, which is this type of person struct, which holds the name, age, and weight of a specific person. But how exactly do we use the struct? We have the entity, we have the way that it's going to be structured, but now let's actually use that structure to define a name, age, and weight for a specific person, because everybody's different in some type of way. So let's create a variable, and I'm going to call it person1. And then I'm going to use the colon equal, let it infer the type. And what we're going to create right now is a person, right? So to use this entity that we just defined, right? Because we created a structure of type person, and what makes a person is this name, age, and weight. But everybody doesn't have the same age, name, and weight, so we can define that, and we can have a variable hold that entity with the actual data inside of it. So first, to use it, let's open up person. Let's open up these braces, and let's actually start defining the attributes for that specific person. So for name, I am going to use Bobby. Then let me see, then use a comma, and then for age, I am going to put that he's 30, and then for weight, I am going to put that he is 166.5 pounds. Save this. Now let's actually print this out and see how it's actually defined using this entity of type person. All right, so let's do person1, save this, go run, and boom, we see that inside of this person that's using this entity of type person, we see that it's Bobby. The age is going to be 30, and the weight is going to be 166.5. Cool. And I mean, even for this person, we can even define another attribute if we want to. Like, let's say for instance you have friends. We can even define that it's going to be a string, an array of strings, right? And we can do that. Now for this array of strings, all we got to do is, define friends. And now all we got to do is define that, we're going to have an array of strings. And, let's put that Geo as one of his friends. And let's print that out. And boom, now we see that we have an additional attribute, and it's going to be an array with the name Geo inside of it. So there's so many things you can use to define a specific entity with a collection of fields. Say, for instance, you want to make an employee, you can put an ID associated to the employee. You want to create a person like we just did. Maybe you want to create like a house structure, like the type of house. Like there's so many things you can do. But if you want to create an entity with specific attributes, but you're going to use it many times to define different unique, people with different unique items that's going to use the same attributes, you can define a structure to start adding in that data so that they can be in a collection together. Now, if you ever came from object-oriented programming like Java, Go is not an object-oriented programming language. So this kind of reminds us of classes if you did do object-oriented programming. But it is not an object-oriented programming language. But this is a way that you can kind of replicate a class if you do have experience with it. Now, how do we retrieve, these attributes that we created one by one? Maybe we don't want to just print out everything at once. We just want to print out one thing that we need. You could use dot notation. So dot notation is literally, you take the variable that's holding the struct or the entity, and you take the variable and just use dot right after it. And you can see that VS Code is already showing the attributes that are already attached to this entity, and you can get whatever attribute that you want. So in this case, maybe I just want the name, right? So if let me just create let me actually take this out, put it on its own line, FMT, and then use print format, and let me just create a little dialogue. So the name is going to be this, and then I'm going to do person1 dot name, and I'm going to put on a new line, and then just copy and paste a couple of these, and I'm going to do age, weight, and we'll do, it's going to be a number, so we'll just do that, age, and then weights is also going to be that, so we're going to do weight. Oops, probably used the wrong format. So I believe it's F for this one because it's a float. So let me just save that and clear this, go run, and boom. So we're able to retrieve it using dot notation. So if you want a specific attribute field, you just use the dot with the variable that's holding the entity, and you can see we retrieve the name by using person because it's holding this person entity. So we use person1.name to retrieve this name, age, weight, and it'll be the same thing if you want to retrieve friends. So that is how you retrieve fields from a entity. So we created this type of person, and it had various fields such as string, int, float, strings, or array of strings. But we're not restricted to just that. We can actually even embed other structs inside of a struct. So let's actually do that. So we have this person, but this person is not, just a person. He also has a job, or he or she also has a job. So let's do that. Let's do career. Let's do a type career, and let's make that a struct. And let's do EID to define that this person has an ID, employee ID, and let's say job name, right? And this is going to be a string. And then I'm going to put a role that's also going to be a string. Now, to embed this, this struct that we just defined into another struct, all we have to do is define it as a field in the entity. So all we got to do is put career, and we want it to be of type career, and that's it. Now, how do we actually define, values inside of this person for this internal struct, this embedded struct? Well, it's going to be pretty much the same process. All we got to do is, create a person and open up an entity, and let's do name, and that is going to be geo, and then age. Let's make it 40. Let's make it weight. Make it 175. Friends. Let's do a string of, let's say, no, he knows Bobby, right? And then now let's get to career. And this is going to be of career. Open that up. And then we know that we had an EID, we had a job name, and we had a role. So all we got to do is use EID. Open that up. It says EID was 123. His job name was, I don't know, like, let's say Publix, because Publix had a cult following where I'm from. And let's put the role, let's say cashier. So boom, we created a person, and we defined the career that the person is working as. And you can see how useful this is, right? Because now you can have a collection of data, right, associated to one variable. And now if we ever need to get data in regards to that person, right, it's easy to grab it using dot notation. If we need to know the person's name, age, weight, even their career, the ID, like so much information for one thing. And imagine if we have an array of, people, right? Because like I said, there's so many people on this earth. It's not just one person. Everybody's unique in their own way. And now we have ways to define, how different people are, right? So it's the same logic, right? You could get person, or let me print this out. Or let me print out the whole person. Print ln, so that we can see how it looks with all this nested data. It's a person. And then fmt dots print f, and then we're just gonna do career, because I'll be here forever if I have to print out everything. So we're just gonna do this. Let's do person, and as you can see, VS Code is already offering different ways that we can retrieve from career. So all you have to do using dot notation is define the person, because the person is holding the actual entity. Then use dot to grab the internal, the nested entity, which is career. So all we got to do is use person, which is holding person, the person entity, and then use the dot notation to grab the career, which is holding the entity internally for career. And now we can grab attributes based on career. So if we need the EID or the job name or the role, we can do that. Now I'm just grab the job name. So then we can save this, clear this out, go run, and see, we see that, look, we have initially, actually, put a slash n. I always forget to add a space, so I can make this a little bit more clear. So initially we see, the name, age, and weight that we define for the person, but even we can see the nested entity for career internally within his own self. And we're able to retrieve it by using dot notation for that specific struct that we defined, and grab the field name internally for that as well. So then we're able to print out the actual career name or the job name for that specific person. So cool. And if we actually just wanted to print out career, we could. Let me just do print ln here, so I can print on this own line. Clear that out, and you can see everything. So you can see specifically everything. Or if you just want the nested struct, you can just grab that as well. All you got to do is use dot notation to grab that struct, which is career, and it's going to show you everything associated to that. So it's going to be 123 for the EID. Job name is going to be what we have as publics, and then cashier for the row. So this is very useful, and we don't even have to um, define everything here. If we just wanted to erase it, we could do that, and we just want to use dot notation to define everything, which we could do that. So let me just erase everything here. So by default, everything's gonna be 0. But we can also do it like this: person dot age is equal to, let's say, 50. Person dot name is equal to Bobby. Let's make it with an I this time. And then it could be person dot career, and then EID is going to be 0. This person's unemployed. And then we could do person dot career dot job name, make that unemployed. Working hard, if you're looking for a job, it's okay. So we just print out this person, we'll print out the career, and let's see what it makes for us. Boom. So we see that, look, Bobby is gonna be, the name is gonna be Bobby, the age is gonna be 50. We didn't define the age, we didn't define, or the weight, I mean, and we didn't define friends, so it's gonna be 0 for that, and it's gonna be an empty string for friends, or empty array of strings for friends. And we define the EID is 0 for a career. We define the job name as unemployed, and we see that the role is just going to be an empty string, so it didn't appear here. So there's different ways you can define these structs, and define these entities and give it data. But yeah, these are useful, especially when you start getting into APIs and defining entities that you expect to retrieve from a request. And I'm going to create a separate tutorial for that, and how to make an API and Go, and how to define these fields, how to create databases. But this is going to be what you're going to need. So I would play around with this, create your own types of structs, populate the structs with data, create your own entities, and actually try to output it and do things with different types. It could be strings, it can be ints, it can be creating structs within structs, nested. Do that, play around with it, because that's the only way I feel like you will be able to pick it up faster, learn it easier, is by just coding. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section. Leave a like if you like it, and yeah, stay tuned for more.